If you in the Facebook group or my Instagram or wherever else I shared it to, you might have noticed an awful lot of gear going onto eBay. We had 17 to 40s, 24 to 70s, 70 to 200. We had about 15 lights disappearing on there, a couple of film cameras, some LED lights, some modifiers, gimbals, all manner of kit. And I sold it all so I could purchase this one very important thing. Now, before we go too far into this, I know I had a lot of stuff to sell. You may not have this lot of stuff to sell, but that is not the point of the video, so bear with me. Most of the stuff I sold was stuff that I had been gifted or had as payment in kind. And that means a brand will go, we'll give you all this stuff if you do this for us. And the problem is you still have to pay tax on payment in kind in the UK. And I thought rather than having the object and paying tax on it, it'd be better to have the money and to use that money for something. And I initially sold £1,000 worth of stuff on eBay. Now, I'm selling more at the moment, but ignore that for the time being. We took the first £1,000. It went for more than that, but by the time I started doing this, I'd spent £1,000. So I've got my £1,000 cash. And I think £1,000 cash is a reasonably obtainable number for people to save up over the course of a year. It's not the sort of number that most people can pull out of their back pockets in cash, but if you can get hold of £1,000 a year, I would recommend you spend it on this as well. Now, with £1,000, you can get a lot. I could have got well, I've got one back here actually, there we go. So that camera in the background there, that is a Zeiss Milvus Macro Planar. Beautiful bit of kit, lovely lens. I could buy some secondhand broncolor lighting. I could buy a Canon 5DSR-ish, if it was a little bit battered, 50 megapixel cam, which is what I use for my commercial work. There's a lot of things I could buy. I could get a Blackmagic video camera. Brilliant. But I didn't. And yes, I know I already have a lot of that stuff, which makes this... It's a tricky video because it's not realistic for most people. It's all good me going, yes, I sold all this and then I did this with it, but I already had a broncolor hazy light and a Cambo Actus with all that. Yes, I understand, but the principle remains. I spent it on test shoots. I spent it on paper rolls. I spent it on cardboard. I spent it on travel. I spent it on stylists. And we spent it on food for stylists, travel, all that sort of logistical stuff for test shoots. And I created a new body of work for £1,000. And I'm going to show you what I created because, yeah, and yes, other people had financial input into this as well. Some stylists bought food along, actually all the food stylists bought food along. That's kind of how it works because I don't know what food to buy. But I supplied the backgrounds, I supplied all the lunch, all the stuff which goes around shooting. And we did 4 test shoots with this £1,000. That's £250 a test shoot. And a lot of that went on paper rolls because paper rolls are expensive. They're about £80 a roll at the moment. But that's what I've spent my money on. And here's why I think it's better than buying a bit of camera equipment, assuming you already have one lens, one camera, one light, which is pretty much what all of this was done with. All of it was shot with a lens, a camera, and a light. And that's it, and some paper. The work I've got off the back of this already, and I only started this 4 weeks ago, I've already got 2 campaigns off the back of this work. So my return on investment is insane. If I'd have bought a £1,000 lens, a £1,000 camera, a £1,000 whatever, I wouldn't have made any more money. Not at all. And we're going to talk about return on investment and creative purchases later in a different video. But for now, if I'd have spent this money on kit, I'd have the kit. But I didn't. I spent it on creativity. And this is a scary purchase to make because if it goes south, you've pissed it in the wind. And nobody wants a wet leg. So how did I know what to spend it on? How did I know what to shoot? Well, the first thing I did was I knew 3 to 4 stylists that I wanted to work with. There was one from Boss up north, there were 2 who were independents, and there's one who is a furniture stylist, a furniture curator actually. And they're the 4 people I wanted to work with. So I'd already got that in place. I already knew these people here have my vision, my style, they understand what I do. We've worked together with half of them already, and the other half are unknown quantities. I then knew where there were gaps in my portfolio or where perhaps there was old work sitting in my portfolio that needed updating. We'd got for the Fork project we shot, I'd already done something similar to this, but it was like 6 years ago and it was just a bit ropey. So it needed to be updated, needed to be replaced, and it was time to do that. For the furniture work, I'd never shot still life before really. Well, I had, but not as a personal product. I'd only ever done it commercially, which is very different. So we did a lot of work in there. We put together pre-production, we put together a deck, we did, you know, full treatment of how we're going to do it. We had a shot list. It was very much ran like a commercial job. And I've got a vlog of the shoot, actually. It's somewhere. I'll see if I can make it come up here. I probably haven't. If I haven't, I'm sorry. It'll be in the comments below. But we did a vlog on that showing what we did. It was very, you know, low key. We just took 2 lights, 100mm prime, Canon 5 DSR. That was it. It was very run and gun. There was no like big production because it only had £1,000. And let me tell you, £1,000 goes fast by the time you've got lunch, travel, assistance, and all the rest going on. So that's what we did with the money. I put these together. I shot the project. If you go to my actual professional photography site, which is scotchothinio.com, not Tin House Studios, that's just my YouTube site, my actual photography site, you'll see in the news section I've started to blog some of these. And when I blog them, they also go out in my marketing. And I have a workshop explaining exactly what I do, which is called Marketing 101, which is not exactly what I do, that's the basics of what I do. There's also advanced marketing. Do not buy advanced marketing if you've not done Marketing 101 because you will be perplexed. It's all the little tidbits, but without the bump. So I went out, did my marketing, and I got work. I had results, and it was one of them, and I can't actually tell you what the job is until I've done it, but I did the shoot, sent it out in the eShot that week because that was when it was due, and I got the job 2 days later, or at least I got the inquiry 2 days later. The job didn't actually get signed off for another 2 weeks, but it is such a good investment in money. And of course, the fear is, what if I spend £1,000 and get nothing? And yeah, my word, have I spent £1,000 and got nothing before? That is part of the process. And we're going to do a video on how much to invest in test shoots and how much to invest in creativity because it is an important thing. And it is so much more scary than investing in kit because when you buy kit, like I say, at the end of it all, you have the kit. And it's very easy to go, well, yes, I spent this money and I've got a solid item at the end of it. Here is my thing. This is actually a very sexy lens. This is the Mamiya Sekel Z 110mm 2.8. Even now, secondhand, these are like £1,500. These are beautiful bits of kit. This is not mine. I've borrowed it to see if I want to buy it. But at the end of buying this £1,500 lens, I've got my £1,500 lens, and there it is. I will not make any more money from this. And you say, yes, we'll use it on paid jobs and it'll pay itself back in time. Maybe. Not really. But that's all I've got. But it's also reassuring that here's what I've got. Whereas if you spend that money on test shoots, at the end of it, you go, I've got some pictures, maybe they're rubbish and you've got nothing, or maybe they're good, but they've done nothing. So I understand the fear in doing this. And I understand the significance of £1,000. It is not a small amount of money, especially when you're starting out. When you're further into the career, you go, oh, it's £1,000, it's okay. But you know, if you'd have asked me 5 years ago to spend £1,000 on test shoots, I'd have told you to off. So maybe you don't have £1,000, but maybe you've got whatever it is, £100, £200, £250, whatever money you've got saved up for that next bit of kit. I would ask you to reconsider buying it and to consider spending it on creativity. If you're not at a point where stylists want to work with you, hire a stylist, like pay for the stylist. If you're not at a point where you have all the backgrounds and stuff, buy the backgrounds. A good selection of backgrounds is better than an upgraded lens. A good food stylist is better than a new light. So try and see these things as investments which will help further your career. And of course, the first few years of trying to further your career, it is literally going to be, you'll spend money on the test shoot, you'll shoot it, you'll think it's good at the time, 5 years later you bin it. That's normal, that's fine, that is part of the creative process. Anyway, I hope this video has been of interest to you. I know it's not exactly what the title said it was, but it's very hard to get a good YouTube title when it's actually an important video because the titles are too long to make sense and then no one sees it, so sorry. Anyway, if you enjoy these videos, do hit subscribe. We've got some how-to videos coming up and some sort of like businessy videos coming up as well. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.